It still says off air. Does your guys? Oh no,
it just went live.
Yay!
Yeah.
All right.
We're alive.
Started.
All right. Our dear Heavenly Father, we thank Thee for this day and for all our many blessings. We thank Thee for the opportunity we have to receive an education and for the things that we learn every day. We ask Thee to bless us with Thy Spirit so we can retain all the things that we need to learn from all our classes. And we ask Thee for Thy Spirit, especially in this meeting, so we can communicate well and share ideas and learn from each other. And we love Thee, Father, and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Angie, for saying the prayer. Sure appreciate that. So, does anybody have any questions before we begin, either about the article or about the class or anything that you wanted to discuss before we start?
Okay, I have an OCD question. Are you guys going into the message board and saying anything so that you can get the green check mark?
Oh, I'm not. I've been like I deal with it.
Wait, what green check mark?
Okay, it might not be green anymore. It's actually black. But because if you don't go into the group activity discussion board and say something, it shows that you have an overdue.
Yeah. Oh, OCD. Oh my gosh, I'm with you. Yeah, every week everything has to be checked out. I don't care. I'm with you.
I'm just no, we'll all just say hi to each other on that board, right?
Okay, because it's really bothering me that it's saying overdue right now. So I'm going to go in there and just say from last week, hi. So.
I loved the article. I thought it was the answer to prayer for me in lots of ways. So I just thought it was great. And I don't know if you remember from last week, but I was going to have a meeting that I knew there'd be conflict at after this class or our discussion.
How did it go?
It went well, partly because I read this in between. As soon as we finished, I read the article for this week. And I loved the part where it just talked about letting people open up. So when I went into the meeting, that was the first thing I did, was I just said, it's been a while since we visited with each other, and I just thought it'd be great to catch up. And so we just went around the circle. There's only 5 of us, and, just said, where's everybody at, and how are your kids, and what's going on in your life? And the one lady that I knew I was going to have conflict with, she was like immediately defensive right from the beginning. And she was sitting next to me, so she got to go first. But it was very clear she was like, we just got to get to all this stuff, and I don't want to share anything personal. But then as the rest of the team really opened up, she softened, and then it really allowed everybody to really air their concerns rather than keeping them in. And so I really was so glad that I read that, because just that one step of letting it be open and safe and everybody contributing from the beginning changed the whole feel of the meeting. So anyway, so I thought maybe we should do that as part of our team, because that's some of the things we're supposed to talk about, is how we are working well as a team. And so I thought of a question that maybe we could start with, just is, what is something that you're struggling with lately? It can be anything. We all have struggles, right? So or something you're struggling with, or I can go first, or whatever. Okay,
Julie, go ahead.
Yeah, okay, well, man, struggles, they're just everywhere, right? So I think for me, my biggest struggle probably right now is learning to say no. It's always been a struggle for me to say no, I can't take one more thing, because I'm just that person that's sure, yeah, just give me one more thing to do. My life's already full. And so, but even today, right before this meeting, I'm frantically texting my daughter, who's frantically texting me about something that has to happen tonight. And I'm just and I said to her, I'm already doing 10 things. I understand that you want to make plans for tonight, but you have to understand, as a mom, I already have 10 things I'm trying to do right now. And so just even being to her, I can't respond to you right now. That was hard for me. I felt guilt about it. I need to fix this problem. And yet I also needed to be okay to say no, that this can wait an hour till I'm done, and then I can calmly talk to you about it. Does that make sense? So that's probably my life struggle. That's my life struggle.
Nice.
Well, that's good, Julie, because honestly, I see that moms get so overwhelmed, but they still say yes and they please us. And you guys like end up just saying yes to everything and not taking like care of your things or yourself because you're putting other people's priorities. And I mean, that's awesome, but you have to, put time for you. But that's good. I love it. You're done. Oh, that's funny.
All right, who else has a struggle? Nobody else?
I'll go.
I can go. Oh.
No, ladies first.
Okay, Zach, thanks. Is that gonna be part of our group norms?
As the only man here, yes.
Okay, I like it. Very polite and such a gentleman. Okay, so I have like a little experience right now that is kind of related to what we learned this week. So I'm taking 14 credits. I know it's not that much, but I'm really busy. And I'm really struggling. I'm doing homework every day for 5 hours every day. Plus you have to add classes. Past semesters, I usually go to class, and I have found I usually like to study in groups, or at least with other people. I feel like when we share ideas, I learn more, and I get less frustrated because I don't get stuck in some homework or some question. Does that make sense? So I like that. So past semesters, I have tried to study with other people, and I actually made friends. But then this semester, I was trying to get together with people, that might sit next to me. I was like, hey, do you want to do homework together? Hey, would you like to do this together? Not a lot, but some things that are hard. I'm taking accounting, so that's a hard one. But all of these people that I've talked to, they're really nice to me in class. And I'm pretty sure they're here from the United States. But when it comes to getting together, I cannot get them to get together with me, And then I was looking back, and I was thinking all the friends that I have gotten together with have been Peruvians, Mexicans, from Ecuador. And I'm like, this is very interesting. But I also understand. I feel like it's part of the culture. When I was taking international business, we had to study the countries, And when compared to with the United States, we noticed that Latin America, for example, they are more group-oriented people, but United States is very individualist. And yeah, I don't know. It's just, I think it was interesting. I seriously thought about it this week, and it was happening, and it just kind of related because I feel like cultures also play an important role when it comes to, interaction with teams and everything. But yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. I know within myself I'm more individualistic. I hate group work, I'll be honest. I don't hate this. I'll be clear. I don't hate this, but I hate group work. And it's funny, in international business, I learned about the collectivism versus the individualism.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, when I served my mission in Texas, the Hispanic people, man, they were just I loved serving in those branches because it felt like the branch was just one giant family. Everybody was involved with everybody else. You go to a white person's ward, and everybody's sitting on their pews. Just don't talk to me, please. Please don't talk to me. Please don't talk to me. I just want to sit here. I want to meditate. I don't want to be bothered.
Exactly. That's how I feel.
It's true. The Spanish branch, everybody's up and about 5 minutes in the sacrament meeting, and that meeting hasn't started, but everybody's, talking and saying hey and, whatever. So it's funny that you bring that up in regards to getting together as groups with school. That collectivism manifests itself in a lot of different individual and and group-oriented activities, or when you try to make it a group, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Well, I think
Okay.
it's interesting as a manager, if you think about it, like you do need to be aware of different cultures. Like I have a really good friend whose family is from Mexico, even though most of her life she spent here, but she still has that culture very much a part of her. And she's always wanting to be together and do things together. And so just knowing that about her, I accommodate that more than maybe I would with some of my other friends. And so if you're on a team with somebody,
Yes.
that's good to realize.
Yeah, that's where sympathy comes from, because you're able to know other people's situations, so you're able to accommodate, and that's where good interaction happens. That's awesome. Thank you. All right.
All right, Julie Nordgren.
So my big struggle right now is that reading The Speed of Trust has been super hard because I realize I have serious trust issues. It's really hard to face the fact that, like, I come from a family full of mental health issues, and we have serious trust issues, and it's been a problem. I spent last week with my sister in Utah, and I was with my family, and it wasn't pretty. So, and I'm thinking the whole time, I'm like reading this book going, you guys need to read this. So it's been interesting, but it's been really hard.
Yeah.
So the times we grow, aren't they, when our weaknesses stare us right in the face?
Yep.
That's true. All right. Well, I have some struggles that I'd like to share, but I'm at my in-laws, so it's we'll leave it at that.
Struggle right there.
Let's start typing. Just kidding.
Can't go there.
Do you
No,
live
I'm just
there?
kidding. Oh yeah, I live here, and don't get me wrong, it's absolutely, I have to like watch myself. It's absolutely wonderful. Like, I have nothing against living with my in-laws, but there are things that I've noticed that just set me off. So
That's really hard to live with parents. And
yeah,
I love my in-laws, but I wouldn't want to live at their house.
Yes.
Yeah. it's been good for while we've been here, but that is I'll leave that ambiguous struggle up for your interpretation and let you kind of
I
piece
understand.
together what might be going on. What's your mind? Take it away.
Well, I think it's a great activity to think about, talking about empathy, that we all have struggles. We all have things that are challenges, and just being understanding and patient of those things in each other, and especially in teams that we work in. So let's get into the discussion of the article this week. So the first question was, from your own personal experiences, what have been key behaviors in good teams and effective teams that you've been a part of?
Honestly, I really thought about doing a tattoo for me somewhere in my wrist that would say sympathy or empathy. I don't know. Okay, I still need to think about the difference between, but that word means a lot for me, especially because I come from a culture that it's, it's more collective. Is that the word? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but so I think it's really important to have that when you interact with other people, because when you have that, you're able to love them because you understand them, and you are more likely to help because it comes from you and not because you feel the obligation. I don't know. But okay, the tattoo part, it's just like a crazy thought that I had, but seriously, that word means a lot for me, to me. Yeah.
I like that. I would add, I guess we're talking about qualities. Another quality that I've really enjoyed and that I saw an effective team is the ability to call out other people's crap and be okay with it. You
That's a
know,
hard one, but
like it's hard one. It is hard. It's not an easy thing, but gosh, man, when everybody is on board, everybody knows their role, even if they're different roles. When everybody knows their role, knows what's expected of them, and knows what direction we want to head in a given amount of time, and when people don't start to get that way, it's so nice just to kind of turn it over, turn next to them, and say, hey, can you pick it up? Not just as a brief example, but just being able to kind of out in the open in a very kind and non-confrontational, non-demeaning way, just say, hey, we're in this together, High School Musical, we're all in this together. Let's pick this up a notch. We need you, to do your part. Our success depends on you. So I like that in effective groups. The few that I've been a part, being able to just openly call on other people to step up when we see them slacking, and for it to just be like, almost like a family. You can call your sisters, well, maybe you can call out other family members on their stuff that they're not doing, and think like, all right, yeah, you're right, I'll pick it up, and then we just leave it at that.
Yeah.
So I think that requires humility too. Like when you're working with a group, recognizing maybe you don't know everything, or recognizing that, okay, you're calling me out to do better because I wasn't doing my part. So there has to be some humility.
That's true.
In a good group.
That is true. Accountability.
And most important, everyone has to be on board. Otherwise, that type of feedback does not sync.
Right.
Right.
Jim, I don't know if you read the book Good to Great before. Excuse me, but Jim Collins talks about hiring the right people, getting the right people on the bus, and then putting them in the right seats. You can, and I guess to make it brief, you can hire anybody. I mean, everybody's looking. There's tons of people looking for jobs, but it's up to you, if you're the manager or whatever, to hire the right people, and then also sit them on the bus or put them where they should be, where they'd be strongest at. It's a balance in doing that. I mean, the good companies would hire people and they would just kind of throw them together and say, all right, work. Anybody can work. But for the great companies, they were very particular about hiring the right people and then putting them where that they would do well, perform the best at. And results that they drew from that far excelled those companies that didn't care.
I think that goes back to what you were talking about last week in the leadership and self-deception as well. Like if you're just filling a job, that's very much like an object. If you're helping a person be successful, that's treating somebody like a person.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. That's a good point.
Anybody else? I
was just gonna add up like another thing that I think it works in effective teams. I mentioned empathy, but also in the reading it talks something about psychological safety, which is feeling comfortable. I feel like last meeting that we had, our first meeting last week, I was feeling a little kind of weird because I chose to be the leader, and when I'm a little nervous, my English tends to be a little weird. But now I feel so much better now, But feeling comfortable is just so important because it will allow me to communicate like the message, without stumbling so much, or I don't know. But yeah.
Good. You just showed us your fatal flaw, right? If you're ever feeling uncomfortable, we'll all know.
Yes.
Start having a hard time.
Yeah.
So that's the next question, is what are our group norms of our group, and if they're working well, or if we'd like to create some for our group. What do you guys think?
Well, we just established that ladies go first, so that's one.
Yeah, that's the first one.
I think we've been good at giving everybody a chance. I mean, I've been in groups where like it's hard to get a word in, and nobody cares if everybody talks as long as they got to talk all they wanted to, you know. And so I think that's a really good thing, is that, you know, so far we've all been interested in what everybody has to say and making sure that all 4 of us contribute.
Wow.
Yeah, that's true.
Being able to be the one to speak up for the person that hasn't spoken to, you know, it's like, we haven't heard from so and so in a while. You know, what's your take on this? And then that gives them a chance to talk too. So it's, I think you bring up a good point, and it's a mutual thing. You know, everybody realizes, or at least a lot of people in the group have to realize that everybody's got a voice and everybody has something important to say.
And I think Angie really helped that last. I think you did a great job leading out and encouraging everybody, and it just made it a really warm environment. And I think as leaders, you know, whenever we start out leading a team, it's important to create that environment that we want to create so that everybody gets off on the right foot.
Yeah.
But I also want to point out that you reached out first, because you took the initiative to send. Was it you, JJ? You sent the first email, right?
I think it was
yeah, and then from there I went on. But like the fact that we are on board, and I emailed you today at 5 in the morning, because that's when I act.
Wow.
And you guys, like, you know, you guys were ready for the meeting. You knew what was gonna happen, and you guys, you know, you were able to like figure. So that's great. But you guys were on your email. You know, it's not like, what is this doing? Like, where are they? Like, how can I get a hold of them? That's a team. So being on board in everything and like trying to do your part, it makes it so much more efficient. But and also thank you for doing this. 11:30.
You have a friend behind you, Angie, that's waving at us.
Oh my
Your
gosh.
husband?
He's an awesome friend. Funny.
What's up, guys? Sorry, Angie.
It's hilarious. Seriously.
Who is that?
What's that?
Who is that?
It's a friend of ours, especially my husband's friend, but I love him. He's so funny. He's seriously not shy, no limit. He overcomes rejection. He's funny. It's funny.
Good.
So Angie kind of brought up the next point, which is the psychological safety. And so I just wondered, have you ever been in a team that you didn't feel psychologically safe, and what was that like?
Yep. Yeah, it was actually last winter semester in a religion class. I was in a group that was not safe, and it was not a comfortable situation. And we were in a group like this where we were meeting, and they decided that they wanted to meet at a different time, and they said, okay, well, who's available? And I said I wasn't, and they all were like, okay, and ditched me. And
Okay.
it was just not a good, and the one guy that was like had made himself the leader, he kept challenging everything that everybody said, and it was really combative, and just like you didn't want to say anything ever, and it was a religion class.
Oh.
So it was awful. I was glad to be done with that one.
Yeah. I would be too. All right, Angie, you go.
So last year when I took business fundamentals, I don't know if you guys took that class with Capsum.
Yes.
Okay, so that class is kind of hard, and honestly, you need teamwork because they're like crazy decisions to make. And I feel like one person was really good at Capsum. I was not. And since they are already good at it, like they started doing it fast, and I'm like not understanding. And then when I have an idea, they aren't even paying attention. That group was bad. I never felt safe. Every time they will say something, I was just like angry, and I build up a lot of resentment, I feel. I don't know, it's just weird, but I totally got that not psychological safety feeling in that group. It's just weird.
Yeah, captain was a stressful class.
Ugh.
It was a challenge.
Yeah.
JJ, your turn.
Oh, right. I'm a girl.
I don't know how much
I
I
think
could tell.
I think probably my most just this recent, and it's a continual team, and so that for me it's always a stressful thing when I know I'm going to have to go into that team and bring conflict, and just trying to make somebody happy that doesn't want to be happy. I think is the challenging part as a leader of the team, to realize that there's discontent and not know how to fix it, but everybody else is aware of it too. Like that's tricky for me. When I'm not the leader, I know in a dysfunctional team, I tend to just stop talking and just not participate. And I also realize that that is not a healthy way either, because then, like Angie said, like the resentment and the frustration, because I do have things to say and contribute, and so that just builds up inside of me because I'm like, I just don't want to do this anymore.
That can just burst, like explode in just all relationships.
Yeah.
builds up, and there's a point that it's just gotta go. That's
out.
bad.
Yep.
Right, Zach? I'm just kidding.
Right.
Oh, that's funny.
I took business communications one year, and it's kind of a really interesting class. But our last project was a little group project. We had to, oh, excuse me. Oh, wow. We had to essentially create policies for like a fake business, policies and procedures that contained all sorts of stuff. It was a pretty intense product considering we didn't really have a company, and we just kind of had to, I guess, make a generic form of policies and rules and stuff like that regarding everything really that a business would encounter. So it was just three people really, and then it was me and the guy that sat next to me and another guy that sat behind me, and gosh, that was miserable. Well, one of them was completely and utterly just, as a person, a good guy. As a student, not so much. Like he was. I mean, I kid you not, and I don't exaggerate to kind of gain sympathy from you guys for this. He was asleep every day in class. I'd go in, and the class would start, and the dude was just like no response. Didn't even like put it. It was out the entire class period. And the guy next to me, who was a pretty cool dude, was pretty normal, but lazier in the sense that he just didn't do any of the work. He was always like, "Hey, dude, did you do that assignment, the other day or whatever? Like, oh, was that due?" I was like, hopeless, And the group project came around, and I got stuck with those two, and I was like, "Gosh, I am hopeless. Like, this is over, So, finalizing the project, Sir Lazy behind me, and Sir falls asleep, picked up his game and was able to contribute pretty well. But the other guy, when it came to editing the paper, for whatever reason, just did not like me. Like, we were kind of collaborating about, because that was what it was about. You kind of had to like rephrase sentences and make it sound like this, and business professional, blah blah blah. So we were all kind of at the same time doing it. But every time I made an edit, he was just like, no, put it this way. No, that sounds better. And I was like, okay. And then I did the next one, or I think it should be phrased like, yeah, that's okay, but I mean, it could be like this. This sounds better. I'm like,
no.
Do you want to do this? Like, I can easily go, And so it just, that alone, and then I could tell like it wasn't like a friendly way. Like, there was like legit contempt for whatever reason. It just baffled me. But he did not like me. Afterwards, I was like, all right, guys. And he just would get up and just walk away. Like, no goodbyes or like, hey, see you next time. He was just like, all right, bye. And just was gone. I was like, man, it was really uncomfortable, because I knew, I mean, we got along in the class as far as I knew. But then when that project came up, I was like, I don't know. Like I didn't feel. I hated going to the those group meetings afterwards. It just was not fun. It
Yeah.
just wasn't fun.
So on the positive side, looking at that same situation, how could you have created some psychological safety?
Ladies first.
I just think that it's so hard because there's so much like resentment built up that I just want to like choke them, or I don't even want to talk anymore. I just shut myself down. I feel like whatever I'm gonna say, you guys are not gonna listen. So I personally like to brainstorm, you know. So maybe that, especially for Capstone, instead of going straight to the computer and start putting numbers, no, let's sit down for like 15 minutes and let's brainstorm this, whatever we want to do. And I feel like, at least for me, as being part of that group, I should have expressed that I was having a hard time with Capstone because I was still kind of like learning the whole process. It was taking me a while, but I know how to do it. But I feel like I kind of expressed it. They didn't really pay attention, and that just bothered me, and I just shut myself. And I was just going my pace. And I don't know, but that.
I liked that you pointed out something you could do, but also something you could suggest to the team to do. Like, I think that's important.
Yeah.
Both ways.
Yeah. Lady, Julie.
Julie Nordgren.
That was a struggle for me. I don't speak up very easily, especially when it comes to confrontation. I would have just been quiet and suffered through it. So.
Yeah.
Seriously.
JJ.
Well, I thought I kind of had the same as you, Zach. Like the lady in my meeting, she attacked me, a frontal attack in front of the whole group twice during our meeting. And it was uncomfortable enough that everybody else in the team was like silent. Like they all were like, whoa, you know, because yeah, because none of them agreed with her. And so as I came home and I pondered on, like, you know, if I'm going to work with this person, how can I fix this? Because obviously there's something in our relationship that's not healthy. And I don't think it's coming from me. Like, I don't have any negative feelings towards her other than I know that she has this feeling towards me. But there is something I can do about that. And so I don't feel that it's necessarily appropriate in the team because the team isn't reflecting the attitude, just one person on the team is. And so, you know, if we go forward working together, then I just felt like I need to have a conversation with her where she, and I have in the past several times actually, which is kind of funny. But just to be able to let her air it out again. And I think she's just like the type of person who likes to hold on to grudges because like she's bringing up things that happened like a year ago. That we've already talked through and she's bringing them back again. Like, and so I don't think she's actually worked through it, or she feels like whatever I'm doing that bothers her, I'm continuing to do. And so for me, that's what I want to do, is to say, you know, how can we fix this so that we have a healthy relationship? And I don't feel like you're blaming me, but whatever I'm doing that's bothering you, how can I change it? And I've seen that work really well in my marriage. Like, I've sensed that you're unhappy about something, you know, or usually it's my husband who senses that I'm unhappy about something. But, you know, just being open with the communication, I think can go a long way. At least it'll let her know that I respect her and I value her and I want to work, you know, and that from my part is what I can do. So that's kind of where I'm at.
I thought it was interesting in that in our case study that I just totally blanked. Google. Was it Google?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, that she said at the end that when remember when she said she screwed up in a meeting and then one of her coworkers sent an email and said, ouch, you know, but she was in such a better place that it didn't totally affect her the way it would have you know, years before when she was in school and the group wasn't working.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it, you know, can come down to maturity, and instead of like being totally affected by all of the negative things that happen in groups, that you can let some of that go, and your psychological safety isn't as affected as it might have been earlier in your life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. It comes down to it, the only person that we really have control over and can change is ourselves. I mean, we can do our best to influence it, but it's really up to us, which stinks because we're always doing stuff, and then it always looks like the person's never doing anything. You know?
Yeah. I really
But-
like how in the book, The Speed of Trust, how they start with you,
Uh-huh.
you know, before, I don't know, just forming a leader. And I feel like all those principles or values are very important for a leader. And so, yeah.
I like that. Was it my turn? Is it?
Yes.
Okay, just want to be sure. We
Yeah.
talk a lot about a lot. I forget if we're on topic or not. Uh, you know, now looking back, it's like, oh, I know I would have done. At the moment, I was totally clueless. I just like, I'm just gonna have to suffer, you know, not to take up my cross and just, you know,
Only for
and,
a semester.
right, yeah, exactly. Only for the last part of the semester, I feel like forever. But I guess if I were to go back and kind of take it now, I would, you know, for me, I'd try to think that I'm a friendly guy, and it's like, look, dude, you can. I mean, I'm a pretty tough kid. It'll take a lot for me to kind of flip out because I never have, and just kind of hard time to say, dude, I've got nothing against you, but I feel like there's something against me, and then kind of go over what I've experienced and kind of say, hey, when we meet up, you constantly shoot me down or, you know, whatever, and just I feel like bros can have a heart to heart, you know.
Yeah.
Like we can connect emotionally, and it's just a matter of I think we just call each other out on our BS in a very kind of brotherly like way, you know.
Yeah.
And I think I could have grabbed him outside of a group or before a group and said at the crossroads because this was on campus, so I could have like invited him to lunch or something like that, totally friendly, and at the same time just be like, hey, dude, you know, I just want to talk about some things that I'm feeling or experiencing in the group, and you know, who knows how it would have turned out, who I would have received it, but you know, I mean, it's always worth trying. I mean, I think the worst thing that we could do is not try to make something happen. You know, we're only responsible for ourselves and changing ourselves, but you know, I think we do ourselves a disservice for not at least trying to make it better, not just for us, but perhaps for the other person, and then in your case, really perhaps for the group. You know, to avoid another awkward, silent sitting situation or something like that. You know, everybody knows the elephant's in the room, but nobody wants to say, "Hey, look."
Zach, I really like what you said about, you know, maybe taking him aside, talk to him, and buy him lunch. That's okay. You're not gonna have a pleasant conversation. So I feel like doing something nice for that person shows that you care and that you're putting your pride aside. So I feel like it's just a little nice thing, you know, instead of just having that cold, awkward conversation.
Right.
Something for someone. I really like that.
Yes, and I think when you said that, the first word that came to my mind is sincerity.
Yes.
Because you could buy food for somebody and try to trick them into giving them your money or something like that, or sign up for a multi-level marketing company or whatever. Trust me, I've done that one before. You know, but if you're sincere and you kind of, you know, it's got to come from the heart.
Yes.
You know, if you're trying to fake it, it's probably not going to go how you'd plan.
Yes.
That's a good point.
Guys, I really like this case. I don't know. It was just fun to talk to you guys about it. I enjoyed it.
Good. I hope we all had some emotional healing there from our bad group.
We had connection, girl. Just kidding.
Hey, so what can you do as an individual to initiate effective team behavior? So maybe we could just relate it to this team going forward, like what can you do to help our team be effective? We're pretty effective.
Yeah, I don't think
we literally are effective just with the emails and how fast you guys communicate. You know what? I want your phone numbers so we can create a group. And instead of, I don't have my school email on my phone. So, yeah.
I think that'd be nice. I put mine on the email, and I know Julie did too. And I don't know, Zach, I don't know if you how you feel about that or if you have or.
Turn your microphone back on, Zach.
There you go.
There you are.
Sorry, I hate blowing my nose in public, and I'm glad there's a mute feature. So
We appreciate it.
yeah, sure. I might just mute. I don't know what kind of face I'm making, or yeah, just turn the video off. I'm okay with the video, the phone number. I'm okay with that. I was asking, do you all have iPhones or Droids?
I do have iPhone.
iPhone.
Oh my
iPhone.
gosh. Again,
Yes.
I'm a black sheep in my gender and in my device usage.
You got a Samsung.
Oh, I do. I know that, I mean, personal experience, I think we should set something up on a different platform or a different messaging application that's common among our devices. That way it's much more smooth. Because I know when I tried. What's that?
There's an app called WhatsApp.
Yeah, there's WhatsApp, there's GroupMe, so I think that'd be a great idea if we set something up on one of those platforms, and it would be a really effective way. We do that with one of my other classes right now, actually, and it helps to a quick way to.
Yes. Yeah, things happen, so it's just nice to just shoot a text.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay. So.
I'll put my. Who wants to? Do we want to do it on WhatsApp?
You guys, Julie and Judy, do you guys have WhatsApp?
I don't, but I'm always up for learning a new tech thing.
You like it.
No, I don't, but I always learn it.
Right.
WhatsApp.
And I think I have everybody's phone number except for yours, Zach. So if you want to just include yours, then I'll set it up.
Yeah. Let me put it in the email really quick.
Can you send it just in the
Oh yeah,
chat?
I can do that here. Yeah, that's true. Love. Done. WhatsApp. Sounds like an East Coast way. WhatsApp.
What
All right. Should we get back to the question?
Yeah.
So I'll repeat it in case that our brains went somewhere else. What can you do as an individual to initiate effective team behavior in our team?
I think continuing to be open, if we're struggling with something, say if we're, I think being in communication outside of like this structured meeting that we have to do, going to school online is lonely sometimes, not being in class with each other. And so being in communication outside of the structured meeting times and that, I think, makes it a better experience, and it would make us better effective as a group, that we're open and sharing our experiences as we're going through the class.
Yeah. Also, I think it's important. Sometimes I have questions. If you guys noticed this week, we only had to read the case, but we didn't have to do a write-up, which that was confusing. So I might shoot you guys a text with a random question, and I feel like one of you will know.
Hopefully.
So I asked Brother Freese about that because I thought that was funny too. I was like, oh, well, it was interesting because for that case it said post in the discussion board, but then we were going to talk about it, and it was the same question. So I was like,
weird.
So I asked him, I was like, this seems a little redundant. And then he said back, he's like, I already posted an announcement, and I'm like looking at the class page. I'm like, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
But so I'm kind of like lost. And he seemed like he was in a hurry. It's hard to tell with his responses, like if he's happy that you reached out or not. So I'm just like, oh, we'll just leave it.
Yeah. He seems like a
Oh,
really nice guy, though.
he does seem like a nice guy, and it's funny. He actually, I know this is sidetracking. He's going to be watching us talk about him, but he has his own radio show
Oh,
called
really?
the Red State. And so
Where?
I think I Googled his name once. Just I like to Google my professors, see what dirt I can find on them, just
Yeah.
because Brother Freeze. Um,
That's funny.
but uh, I just Googled it, and he's a professor at UVU, I think at Utah Valley
Okay.
University. And then there's a link to his radio show, and so I was listening to it for a little bit. So yeah,
Pretty
it's
cool.
pretty cool. So, anyways, back to the topic of discussion. Sorry. Whose turn is it?
I think it's your turn.
Oh, is it? I'm telling you, this is the norm. I don't want to break the norm. You know, I'm not a rule breaker. I like to be obedient. Um, and I had something too for this question. I totally spaced it. Um, I guess I'll go back to what we talked about in a previous question. Just making sure everybody has equal time to talk. You know, if we're going on about one question in particular, even if it's a tangent. I remembered in the case study they talked about how good groups, they'll go into tangents sometimes, and they'll go off topic for X amount of time before they bring stuff back, and that's kind of how they function. Um, and so I think when we're talking about a good discussion and people are, maybe one person or two people are talking, the other two or three or whatever, that we just continually be mindful of, okay, who's had their chance to share their ideas and who hasn't yet, because it's ignorant to think that only two people in a group of four, or one person in a group of four, or three people in a group of four have all the ideas in the world. In any setting, it doesn't matter where you're at. Gospel doctrine class at church, I'd love to hear everybody's take on it. Just no one speaks up. Elders quorum, being an elders quorum instructor, was the most frustrating thing. Was like, ask a question. I don't want an answer. I just want your thoughts. And everybody's like, well, I don't got thoughts. It's like I don't believe that. Everybody has something, and everybody has a right to share what they think and what they feel, what their opinions are, and I think it makes everybody smarter. Whether or not you think it's relevant or not, or whatever it might be, it's we need to be open to learning new things all the time, and not to think that I guess in the case of gospel, God has all the answers, but outside of that, I mean, life in general, people have all sorts of answers, and we need to respect them and give them a chance to possibly find their place in us somehow.
So have you always felt that way? Have you always been a sharer? This is just my own personal interesting question.
No.
Or is it something that you do?
No, I was
I teach gospel doctrine, and I feel like that every single week. I'm not a lecturer, and I totally agree with that point that says that we collectively learn more than if one person gets up and gives a lecture. So I never give a lecture, and everybody, it's slowly been a mass exodus from my gospel doctrine class because I won't do it, and so I make them participate. And
Yeah.
I find it very hard to find people that actually want to talk about the gospel.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's a struggle. I was an elders quorum instructor at BYU Idaho when I was there, and our elders quorum was full. We had like 40, 50 dudes. It was a really elders quorums now it's like 10, 15 if you're lucky. All the different functions that they have. And so I was like, this is awesome. Like, we're going to hear so much, and crickets. And so it's like, what can I do to get these people talking? Because, I mean, like I said, to answer your question, I haven't been one that's always been like, everybody talks and shares, and we can all learn something from everybody. That wasn't my initial thing, but I've come to, through certain professors and just kind of hearing their perspective, and it kind of come to that point. It's like, yeah, I don't know anything, I have ideas and I have opinions, and I probably do know some things, but it doesn't mean that other people don't know just as much, if not more, than what I
Yeah.
do. So anyways.
How about everybody else? Are you sharers or exiting my gospel doctrine class?
I think that's changed.
You can answer that safely.
That's changed a ton for me. When I was young, like, I can tell you on one hand, I can count the number of times I raised my hand in college classes when I was, at Rick's, when I went to Rick's. Seriously, on one hand, I can count the number of times I talked. But as I've gotten older, and we don't need to talk about how old, but as I've gotten older, that's gotten a lot easier, and sharing has gotten a lot easier. So I don't know if that's something that people struggle with in their 20s, that they don't know how to share. They don't think that they have anything to add. But for me, I love classes where we have a conversation, where we talk. I hate lecture gospel doctrine. I just want to go to sleep. I hate those classes.
What about you, Angie?
Especially with the gospel, it's actually nice to discuss it. So, yeah. And yeah, there's gonna be there's gonna be a time for a lecture too, because they are also important, if there's something to be taught. But if you can mix it up, that's amazing. But the teacher's gotta surprise people with lecture, and some teachers are really good.
Yeah, I'd say lecturing is definitely appropriate. I mean, we get lectured every conference,
because
right?
sometimes when you discuss gospel topics, okay, have you noticed that there's like 5 people that love to talk, and you pretty much only hear from them? It's funny. So that's why I like them mixing it up.
I do too. I like doing small groups like these, like trying to get people in smaller groups, because then everybody feels like I have to participate. So that was kind of going to be my follow-up question was, this is a nice size group, but we've all been in groups where there's 12 or 15. How do you encourage that everybody shares as a leader if you're in a group that's hard to facilitate everybody sharing?
I'm gonna break the rules. Sorry.
Go for it.
My communications, my Com 150 instructor, who I was a TA for after that and stuff I mean, one of the best. Gosh, man, you only love certain people, and he's one of them. But I learned so much from him, and one of the things that he taught is you can't have effective group learning with more than 5 people, because there's too many voices in a group to talk and to share and to try and get to a conclusion or to collaborate on something on one particular subject. It's hard to manage 15 heads in a single group unless you're sitting down in a conference room setting and saying, okay, it's my turn to talk. Let's do this stuff. But in a gospel doctrine setting or in a classroom setting, it's impossible. And then there's people that won't even participate. I was like, all right, I'll go to this group and I'll just sit. And then groups break and I'm just going to go back sitting and I'm still not going to talk, So I think in order for you to have effective group discussions, you have to keep the group small.
Yeah, I agree. You have to break the groups, but also every time you break it differently. Like, for example, we're a group in this class, but I'm never gonna get to meet other people.
Mm-hmm.
I have no clue who they are, and
That's a good point.
It's very interesting. All right, so we have 3 minutes left, but take as long as you like, within reason. So if you just want to share closing thoughts or something you really loved about the article, just to finish up, that would be awesome. No order, anybody can go.
Can somebody tell me the difference between sympathy and empathy?
Well, I think empathy is when you try to feel the emotion that somebody else is feeling, but sympathy is more like I feel sorry for you or I feel bad for your situation, not necessarily trying to feel what they are feeling. That's my take.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just an sympathy is just an acknowledgement of someone's sadness. Like, oh, you're sad. I'm sorry you're sad.
Okay.
Empathy is like, tell me why you're sad, and try to feel with the person. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Cool.
Or even I feel sad that you feel sad.
Yeah.
You know, that makes me sad to see someone else sad.
There's a video, oh, for the love. I'm sorry, I'm talking again. That I watched about sympathy versus empathy. It's from an excerpt from a professor's like lecture with like a cartoon video. I'll see if I can find it and post a link. So I'll just stop there.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, I Googled it. So empathy versus sympathy, okay? Empathy is the ability to experience the feelings of another person. It goes beyond sympathy, which is caring and understanding for the suffering of others.
Yeah. I'm going to get a tattoo with both, actually. Not only that. No, I'm just kidding. But they're both.
All right, I posted the link in the message board.
Awesome.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I'll watch it.
Only 2 minutes long, but I'm also going to share another one because I like this stuff. It's not really related, but it's still good. It's gold.
Yeah.
Well, for my closing thought, I loved the part where it talked about, this was the manager, I believe, Skagauchi or something like that. But he talks about that work is his life and he spends a majority of my time working. Most of my friends I know through work. If I can't be open and honest at work, then I'm not really living, am I? And my daughter, who's 18, needed to hear that because she's in a job that she hates. And she told me like that very week, she told me, I go to work and I don't talk to a single person the whole time I'm at work. And she said, this is what I do. I'm required to say good morning when people walk in. I'm required to say have a nice lunch when they leave. And I'm required to say have a nice evening when they leave work. And she says, that's all I say all day long. And I said to her, you're not living then. And she agreed. But I just thought, our lives are short and it's not healthy to live in a place of conflict. And so when we find ourselves there, we should make proactive changes to help our groups be better or our families be better or our work situations be better so that we can feel like we're always living. So that's my final thoughts.
Yes.
All right. Just a heads up for next week, Zach, you're on deck for being the leader next week. That's still good with you?
Yes.
All right. And nobody has any, foreseeable changes that we need to make to the time?
No.
10:30 or 11:30?
I think we'll go back to 10:30 unless you want to shower, Julie, before.
I'll just run faster.
Okay, good. That's a good plan. Okay, we'll see everybody at 10:30 next week then. Thank you.
Yeah, have a good weekend.
You too. Bye-bye.
Good day, guys. Bye.